Hey, hello again, everybody, and thanks for joining our webinar today. Today's topic is if we can use solar pumps as a modern and more sustainable replacement for hand pumps. This is a topic that we've been asked to talk about several times now, and I've prepared today for us some content where we look a little bit at hand pumps. We then look at the alternative solar pumps and look at how we can use a set of solutions to make this truly sustainable. So I'm just going to run through our introduction. A few colleagues are still joining us. The numbers are just going up. Let me introduce the technology to you that we're using today. We're going to use the GoToWebinar platform. Hopefully some of you will already use this on previous webinars with us. But just a reminder for everybody, everybody is on mute. We've got almost 100 people on the webinar already, so we'll keep the mute on, I think, today. If you have any questions as I'm going through the content, then please feel free to type them in. There's a little question panel. I should be able to see the questions in real time. So if I can keep one eye on the questions and one eye on the content, I'll try to answer as many questions as we go through the presentation. After maybe 35, 40 minutes, then we'll have a Q&A session. So if there's any questions that I can't answer during the content, we'll have a Q&A at the end when I'll answer those questions directly. So the webinar today is being recorded. If you have any colleagues that you think would benefit from seeing it, you will receive a link about this time tomorrow, a link to a copy of the webinar. We also plan to put some of these webinars onto our YouTube channel. So it would be great if you went onto YouTube, look at LORENTZ Solar Pumping, maybe subscribe there, because we're going to be putting not only this webinar, but some previous webinars up. So you'll then get notified when they're posted onto YouTube. So great, let's look at the content that we have for today. We're going to talk about really the challenge of water. We'll talk a little bit about hand pumps. I'm sure as you're on the call, you probably know more about hand pumps than I do, but I wanted to summarize, hand pumps from my view, the quick history of hand pumps, what's happening with hand pumps today, talk a little bit about sustainability, and then we'll look at the solar alternatives. We'll go from a solar alternative pump then to sustainable solutions. I'll spend quite a bit of time on affordability and really understanding how you can use a solar pump to produce a very affordable and sustainable solution. So let's look at the affordability in lots of detail. I have got a lot of numbers to go through here, so I will apologise for that later, but please bear with me, and I'm sure we'll be able to get through that together. So the big challenge we have all been working on in the water industry for a long time now is how we really bring water to everybody in the world. And of course, we went through the Millennium Development Goals, then onto the Sustainable Development Goals. And SDG 6 is very clear. It's about how do we bring basic drinking water, how do we bring availability of water and sanitation to everyone on Earth. And at the moment, the last 3 years, there's been lots of progress, but actually the numbers are remaining the same, and roughly 1 billion people without basic drinking water access. Again, numbers vary depending on whose numbers you use here, and roughly 3 billion people without even basic hand washing facilities. And we know with the current current challenges in the world with the pandemic, these things really come to our attention, and we maybe get upset that we've got a small changes to our lifestyle, but think there's still 3 billion people on Earth without the ability to wash their hands. That's pretty scary in 2020, and massive efforts going on all the time. But actually, this is really a challenge that we're not managing to solve yet. This comes down to one thing, and I tried to put it in a few words that fit, and it's how do we bring water to the communities in this affordable, accessible, sustainable and repeatable way. So if we can find a solution that goes some way to maybe making this go faster, we maybe have to do things a little differently to we have over the last 40 to 50 years, which has been really the period now that the focus has been on fixing this. So maybe we have to do things a little bit differently. So let's look back at hand pumps, and the big rise in hand pumps came in the 1970s and 1980s, and this was driven by really fantastic work done by a few communities, development agencies, some marked individuals also in these developments, and the focus was on really building open source designs, so professional engineers, development specialists coming up with designs for pumps that really solved lots of the problems of the day. So this was moving from open wells to closed wells, so improving the water source, of course, closing in those wells, installing hand pumps, extending the number of people by billions that had access to water. And the two notable products in here are India Mark II and Afrodev, slightly different designs. Absolutely everywhere in the world these are used, and have really made a difference to availability of water for everyone. So this has been a fantastic effort. And if you look at it today, somewhere between 1 and 2 billion people, again, depending on whose numbers you want to use, are being served or have been served from these pumps. So monumental effort to get the hand pumps out there, get people being able to use them. And again, estimates 3 to 5 million of those pumps are out there. And at the moment, there's still 100,000 plus a year being installed. So this is not, this is not history. This is still going on today actively. These pumps being installed, millions being maintained. So this is something you will all have seen. You see new ones, you see old ones, you see different designs slightly, different states of repair. But this is a large proportion of people in the world are getting their water from a hand pump. But of course, hand pumps do have some challenges. And one thing that struck me when I was putting the slides together last week was, if you look up an India Mark II on Wikipedia, the first picture is of a broken one, which is maybe needs some new marketing of India Mark IIs on Wikipedia, I think, because the first picture is definitely a broken one. So if we look at the challenges, of course, so this is reliability is probably the biggest challenge. Estimates, again, 30 to 50% not working at any time. This is not because it's a bad design. This is partly due to materials, partly availability of parts. Open source means there's lots of different sources for parts. Maybe lack of management or ownership of the products. And remember, this product was always designed with the village level operation and maintenance in mind. So the whole point of the hand pump really was to design something that could be maintained and sustained by the local community. This means that the community has to not only repair it, they have to source the spare parts for it, they have to get it fixed, they have to take some ownership and responsibility, which is maybe challenging in lots of communities. So the whole VLOM model actually is probably more of a problem than the absolute technical design. There's a mixture of the two, but between the organization, the ownership, availability of spares, money to fix it, all these things, the VLOM model is difficult and doesn't really help the poor hand pump here. If we then look, and again, this is probably one of my observations, is when we look at hand pumps that are installed, not many donors want to do projects on fixing the old ones. Most of the donors want to focus on how do we get to the 1 billion people that are unserved with water, rather than looking back and trying to sustain and maintain infrastructure that was installed before. And the other challenge with hand pumps is the low cost drive. Of course, this was about how do you get a very affordable technology out to billions of people. The costs of hand pumps actually aren't that low. So both the installation, the purchase, as hand pump designs have been improved, we think of things like the blue pump, which gives massively better reliability, but at much higher cost. So the costs of a hand pump are probably not as low as people think, and certainly not as low as people would hope. So there are still some challenges around hand pumps. And we also see a little bit of a change of approach. And these statements here are from UN Water. Again, clear statements that any donated water infrastructure without monitoring and maintenance will fail. I think this is fairly obvious. If you go and put something in a village without anything around it to sustain it, something goes wrong, it's gone wrong, it's typically not going to get fixed very easily. The other thing that's changing is the mindset that actually beneficiaries of water need to pay for those services. So again, very important that we leave no one behind, but there is an expectation that people should pay for water services. So water, yes, is a human right. I think it was put very, very well to me a few weeks ago, but it isn't a human right to have it treated, delivered to your door for free. That's not a human right. Access to water absolutely is a human right. Delivering it a gold class service, delivering water to your door, is not a human right. So this is very clear that people should pay for water, and there should be subsidies to make sure that no one gets left behind, and anyone that can't afford to pay obviously needs to be supported. And the last point is that subsidies that you put in place to do that actually shouldn't mean that water is consumed infinitely. It shouldn't mean that water becomes wasted. It should mean that subsidies are in place to support people, not to make all water free. So those three things are kind of driven. Yeah, this is interesting. This is an interesting topic, that there is a change of mindset in how we approach some of these challenges. Of course, this was driven from the beginning that any solution that needs to be in place has to be sustainable, and you have to look at four aspects of that. You know, is it socially sustainable? Will it work with the community? Will any solution we put in place work within the context of that community? Is it economically sustainable? So can it self-sustain over time? Is it operationally sustainable? Can you fix it? Can it be repaired? Are there the skills, the equipment to repair it? And environmentally sustainable, of course, this is really important that we think about the lifespan of the product, the impact it has on the environment through its lifespan. So we have to think about these four quadrants of sustainability whenever we think about solutions. So that's rather a long intro, but I think it's important that we get those topics in our mind. So hand pumps have done a really great job of bringing water to billions of people. They have their challenges, and actually, again, researching this is really interesting from a non-hand pump perspective, Guy. From the beginning of the 1980s, there were reports, and I'm talking about a few reports, hundreds of reports being created from academic institutions, from development agencies, on how to fix the problem with hand pumps, of reliability, the costs of running them, how do we put in sustainability programs to keep them repaired, keep them going. So for the last 40 years, we've been writing hundreds of reports on how we fix this, but we still really haven't fixed it in a consistent way. So this is not all new stuff here we're talking about. This is a well-known problem. So let's think about whether we could replace a hand pump with a solar pump. Again, of course, solar pump technology has moved on, as we all know. Let's talk about this PS2 100. We did a webinar on this a couple of weeks ago, and in the email that we send out, we'll link you to this webinar as well. So I won't spend too much time talking about the product here. I'll just throw enough up onto the screen for you so you understand what it is. This is a small 100 watt solar pump. Again, normal LORENTZ, high quality product, long life, super high efficiency, super high reliability, top quality components. But this is designed really to fit the mass market lower cost systems, and it was primarily designed for smallholder farmers. But actually, this fits extremely well as a hand pump replacement. So it runs typically with one 200 watt PV module, and very importantly, it's a plug and play system. So this doesn't need complex installation. It's designed just to be plugged in and operate. So this makes it very quick to deploy. So small system, super reliability, up to 50 meter head, typically up to 10,000 litres per day, so fits the hand pump market extremely well. Honestly, probably replaces 2, sometimes 3 hand pumps in terms of real life capability, but let's call it a direct replacement. It fits pretty well in that space. So very simple, plug and play product. And this is what I want to use for a comparison today. So we can plug other things into it. We can plug well probes in. We can plug extensions in. We can plug a tank full switch here. So when we're filling a tank, we don't overfill. So all of the basic accessories you would expect, again, all plug and play. So no wiring, no cable splicing required, no specialized connections. You can see the top of the pump just has a spigot for a 1-inch hose. So low cost materials you can use, low cost pipe work, don't have to put steel risers or anything like this. Very simple product that fits this low price point, but still with the quality, reliability and efficiency you would expect from LORENTZ. So a product that fits pretty well here. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time on the product. I want to spend more time on thinking about whether this fits. Again, this table here is very simple, but let's do a quick comparison. We'll get into more detail afterwards. So actually, if we look at India Mark II or Afrodev, and even into the blue pump actually, which is the latest generation of hand pumps, the super high reliability, high quality product there. India Mark II Afrodev at 45 meters, kind of maxing out. The PS2 100 does that. If we look at blue pump, we can go up to 80 meters. We'd go up to a PS2 600 or something, but then we would be on 120, 130 meters plus. Daily flow rates, we're very comparable. The PS2 100 would deliver more than Afrodev or India Mark II typically. And actually, if we look then even at installation skills, you do need significant skills to install India Mark II or Afrodev. Although it's low technology, you still do need training and skills. And this is one of the biggest challenges, is the skills actually aren't there to develop this for the hand pumps. There are some great guys that fix it, but this isn't in every village. It's not something that is ubiquitous. So when we compare the two, actually, it's well known out there for the hand pumps, but there are still skills that are required, and they're not things that you can pick up super quickly. The installation of PS2 100 is really easy. Again, this still requires some training and education, of course, but this is designed for a 1 hour of training, means that people can really install and configure and troubleshoot these pumps. They're designed to be consumer-driven products. They're designed for the 1 acre farmer in sub-Saharan Africa. They're designed to be very accessible. So yeah, this is designed to be very simplistic. in its approach. Reliability, varies with the hand pumps. Of course, our products would have a commercial warranty with them. They're both maintainable, of course, assuming you can get spare parts, you have a fund to buy spare parts, and the quality of spare parts is known, then you can maintain hand pumps no problem. And of course, the same with the solar pump. The parts are absolutely available. Yes, you need to pay for them, but they are available, and they are consistently available with a known quality. And actually, if you compare the prices, if we take a PS2 100 against India Mark II Afradev, actually the prices are not so different. So we're looking at very similar prices for the product. So this is not a 10x multiplier or something. We're talking about the same price ranges. If we compare maybe the PS2 600 with Blue Pump, is probably cheaper. So we're always talking about solutions here that are in the same price range. So let's think about how we can use the solar pump and start to solve the sustainability question. And if we look at most of the challenges around sustainability, actually, if you can collect revenue, then you can solve many of them. So most of the sustainability problems are when it goes wrong, no one fixes it. There's no responsibility. There's no money for spare parts. This is the typical drive. So if we can implement a solution which not only has delivers water to the community, but also has inbuilt revenue collection, this starts to make a really exciting solution. So let's have a look at what we have here. We have our small PS2 submersible pump. Again, you can see on the top here is just a 1-inch spigot that can just put a 1-inch hose on. And we're pumping into a tank, of course. With solar pumps, we normally pump to a tank. This gives us water 24 hours per day. Means we don't have to have any batteries to operate the solar pump. The pump will run when the sun shines or when there's light. So we're going to get our somewhere between 8 and 12 hours of pumping per day, depending on where we are. So small, super efficient solar pump. And on top of our tank here, we have PV modules. Again, in this design here, we've got one or two 200-watt PV modules, and our tiny controller there can be also mounted underneath the module on top of the tank. And then from the outlet of the tank, we can connect a water dispenser. So here we've got one of our smartTAP water dispensers. The water dispenser is solar powered. It also has a backup battery, so this is available 24 hours per day. So we're pumping into the tank, gravity feeding out, 24-hour availability, obviously without doing any hand pumping. So this gives us a closed system. It means that the water is secured from the water source to the outlet of the dispenser. And of course, people will come and collect water from the dispenser using a token, so a rechargeable token. Of course, the whole idea, and again, there are 2 webinars on this, I'll link you to them so you can see in more detail about this solution. The idea today is to talk about hand pumps and not really talk hand pump replacement and not talk about the 2 technical solutions, but I'll give you the quick overview. The idea is here, the token holds credit for the user. So each family would typically have a tag. They come to visit the dispenser. They hold the tag in front of the dispenser. It shows them how much credit they have on the screen. As they hold it there, water starts dispensing. They take the tag away, water stops dispensing. They then charge up their token with the local water vendor. They can do a cash or mobile money transaction to charge the token. And this means that you have then a very nice, sustainable solution. Everybody's responsible for the amount of water they collect, but they use, so they pay for how much they use. We can handle all the different things to for social safety nets. I'll explain that in a moment. But we have accountability of every litre of water from borehole to tank to the beneficiary of the water in a very nice closed loop. So very, very simple solution. If I want to just, and again, I will just spend a second on this. So we have, this could be multiple water dispensers rather than just one. Of course, typically all of this technology scales. If we go away from one pump, one dispenser to maybe a bigger pump and multiple dispensers, actually the economics get even better. But we'll look at worst case in a moment on the economics. What we have is a tag. This token here holds the credit for the user. So actually the credit is held on this tag for the user. The customer will purchase their water credits from a local water seller. The local water seller is the only person that needs any kind of technology. So they just use a standard mobile phone with an app running on it, and they then can sell directly to the customer's credits onto their token. And then the customers can go to any of the dispensers in the network to collect water. So if you have 2 or 3 in a community, you can go to collect water from any dispenser. And all of this works without any connectivity. So it's really designed for rural use. It's very happy to work in a city as well, of course, but this will really work with no connectivity, which makes it quite a unique solution. So I don't want to talk too much about this because, as I mentioned, I'll give you the access to 2 more webinars where we talk a lot about the smartTAP water dispenser. But let's look at what people are typically worried about. So when we present this super complex, super exciting, state-of-the-art solution, the 2020 solution, what are people worried about when they compare it to a hand pump? And of course, people are worried about new technology. Actually, nothing I've shown you there is new. This is, solar pumps. We've been producing them for more than 25 years now. We know what we're doing. This is evolution of our standard product ranges, extremely well proven, well known throughout the world. People are worried about the skills to repair these things. This is designed to be super easy to repair. And actually, we're not really doing a good job of repairing hand pumps. So bringing in a sustainable solution where you are collecting money, you are training people, actually fixes this problem. Theft is always raised as a big issue. Theft is really not an issue anymore for solar equipment. Yes, of course it gets stolen. Lots of things get stolen around the world. Generators get stolen. Land cruisers get stolen. This is not just a solar pump topic, but actually what we see is when you have a community resource that's valued, actually people do look after it. And the sense of something in the center of a community that's very visible, again, avoids this theft topic. When we talk to development agencies, they're saying, yeah, but the prices you're giving me here, what's the real price? And actually the prices I'm going to go through and the models I'll go through in a moment are the real prices. So there is a lot of old information floating around in many circles here, which think that the technology we're talking about here is really expensive. Actually, if it's deployed in any kind of project, the technology gets cheaper and cheaper. Of course, if someone wants one example to be installed in the middle of nowhere with 5 levels of project management, this starts to cost more money. But if you want to run a program where you start to roll this out in any kind of volume, the technology gets really, really low cost and either comparable or maybe even below the cost of hand pumps. This really starts to get very, very affordable. Customer acceptance or community acceptance is extremely high for this technology. This is really well proven. The lifetime of pumps is also really well proven now. Again, we've got lots of examples of pumps really running for a long time with 0 servicing, and the ability to service them, the network of service agents increases all the time. proof points we have and scalability points we have on all of these technologies, both on pumps and dispensers. So, you know, I would say the half glass full thinking on this is really out of date now. We should be thinking more about let's think about our glass really being full, and we are talking about simpler technology. So although we're introducing electronics here, of course, electronics are relatively simple, and we are introducing very simple pump technology here with this PS2100. We should be thinking more about how we can bring entrepreneurs and enterprise into helping to solve this water problem. So trying to keep doing the same things we've done for the last 40 years and expecting different results is maybe not a smart thing to do. If we can bring enterprise and entrepreneurs locally in to help solve this problem, to run these systems, this is much more exciting. We are designing something here which is already sustainable. It's a 2020 solution. We've moved on and actually delivering a real service to the customers. So I mentioned that we leave no one behind. So one of the great things about introducing this level of technology is you can be very smart about the way you provide services to people. So let me give you two quick examples of that. Within the smartTAP water dispensers, you can allocate a daily water allowance that people have without paying. So there is a safety net to make sure that everybody has access to clean water of X amount per day or X amount per week. This is all configurable. And then for any water consumed above that, then you pay. So there is those safety nets built in. There's the ability for the poorest families not to need to pay, but still have limits on how much water they use. And all of these things are configurable, transparent, and fully tracked within the system, of course. So very open and obvious what's going on. So let's have a dig down to the numbers and have a look through what do the numbers look like, because this is normally the interesting thing for people. So let's look at the typical hand pump served community. So typically we're talking about 15 to 20 litres per day. The model here we're using 22 litres. 300 people in a community. Again, this is a typical number being served by a hand pump. So we're looking at 6,600 litres per day. So if we look at capital expenditure, and I'm using list prices here, again, I will put the caveat on local import taxes, duty, currency risks, expensive internal transport, all these things can adjust the price, but I'm giving list prices here. There will be some variance by country to country, but this gives you a very good idea, I think. So that small PS2100 pump system is $1,000. So that's the pump, motor cable, controller included, packaged up. If we then add 2 PV modules, again, we might put 2 on to make sure that we have really good pump performance even in the cloudiest conditions. We add our brackets, our cables, etc., another $300. The smartTAP water dispenser is $1,000, $1,100, and then a storage tank. So again, this is based on real local pricing. Again, your market might be slightly different, but this is done for 3 markets in two in East Africa, 1 in West Africa, and $300 was about the price on the storage tanks. A tank tower, and again, this is from a couple of things we've designed ourselves and built. So real pricing on a tank tower made of steel, and then the installation ancillaries. So if we put all that together, we're looking at $3,300 to put in the pump, tank, tower, and the smartTAP water dispenser. So that's the total capital costs for the system we saw a few minutes ago. So then let's look at the annual operating expenditure. And what I've done here is really looked at, I won't say it's an absolute worst case, but it's looking at the costs that we have been using in projects where we have been deploying multiple pump systems in an area, so within a county, for instance, or a district. So this gives an idea of what the commercial prices are for operating and maintenance expenditure. So if we think of the local housekeeping, and I've put cleaning here, but actually local housekeeping can be several other things. It can be, for instance, in some of the projects there is a payment made to the local water committee for management. So it could be cleaning, it could be local management of that with a water committee. We're putting in $150 there for a pump service stroke spare parts fund. Again, there's no regular maintenance required on pumps or dispensers, but we're just putting something in here to allow a fund to be built up over time should something go wrong. So again, this is about building a fund rather than proactive maintenance that's needed. And obviously you want to do a couple of water quality tests per year for a system like this. So let's allow $660 per year in terms of operating costs. So if we bring those numbers together, so the next thing we want to do is make sure that every person in the community has at least 3 litres free water per day. So if they have no money, they're at a desperate point in their day, their week, their lives generally, that every person has at least 3, could be 5, but here I've put 3 in litres of water per day that they're not paying anything for. So this is the basic catch point. Again, you might decide in a community it's 5 or 10. It depends on what you want to do. For the model here, I've just put 3 in. And then we've got a charge of $2 per 17 litre container, so per jerry can or bucket or whatever's being used. We have again, this is in terms of affordability, this is fairly well established as a figure across certainly East Africa and majority of West Africa. This $2 cents per 20 litres is seen quite regularly as an average. So you would collect almost $8 per day from the water dispenser. $1 goes back into paying for the free water. The local water seller's commission is about 70 cents per day. So the net revenue per day is just over $6, giving you $2,200 per year as a net revenue. If we then take our operating expenditure off of $600, we're assuming here that actually everything's going to be loaned at a sensible rate, so either from a development bank or maybe even World Bank here. So you have a interest payment and a capital repayment to do. So that gives you a gross profit at the end of each year of $779. So obviously that could be profit. It could be money that's put straight back into the fund. If this is being done on a very large commercial scale, there will be some overheads for management, etc. What I want to do with these numbers is show you that even with modest size communities, here we're talking about really replacing one hand pump by putting in a tank, by putting in a solar pump, by putting in a water dispenser, with modest payments and free water entitlement, this is still a profitable business. So this is something that stacks up commercially. And in my experience, if you can get something that you know would stack up as a commercial proposition, this actually makes any kind of social enterprise then really sustainable. Of course, you can see here you could reduce the water price by 1/3 and still be breaking even. You could look at it the other way, that actually for every every system we have running profitably like this, we can reinvest in the next one and the next one and the next one. So in terms of really growing and scaling this becomes really quite attractive. This is really the only sustainable model that you can see. Without revenue collection, any technology is very difficult to sustain. Good. So keep your questions coming. I've got a few to answer here. Let's try to conclude the content, and I've got some things to go back on and answer questions for. I think we're not even talking here about a half glass full solution. I think this really is a full glass solution, maybe with bubbles even here. So we are looking at proven technology with the solar pumps, with the water dispensers. This is all now well proven technology. This is not, bleeding edge. This is exciting new technology used intelligently. It is priced at a point, as you can see, where it can scale. We're not talking about $20,000 and $30,000 investments here. We're talking about quite modest investments designed to be repaired in the field, designed for lower literacy, lower skilled technicians. Again, in our other webinar, we talked about how even the dispensers themselves are designed really for very low skilled technicians to have 2 hours training and then be really confident and competent to maintain them. So we're talking about really simple solutions here that are scalable and work in a semi VLOM environment, certainly with local technicians, if not the village. So we're talking about locally trained technicians that can serve maybe 2 or 3 communities with the skills to service, to repair where necessary. This is not super high-tech equipment where you need to fly people in from the city. This is designed to be out in rural areas. The customer acceptance of it is extremely high. So it's very high because think about this from a hand pump. No physical effort for collecting water. High quality water straight from borehole to tank to dispenser, so and then through to the consumer. So very easy to operate. The dispensers themselves work very easily. We have immediate acceptance. Anyone between 4 years old and 90 years old can accept this immediately. It's extremely simple to use. And most importantly for all of these communities, it's fair and transparent. So this makes water really equitable for all. Everyone pays the same. Everybody has the same experience. And this makes it very attractive for a whole community. And the sustainability model obviously comes through revenue collection. So if we go think of all the problems that are around the hand pump, of course, theoretically, you could start to think about putting water dispensers on a hand pump, but actually that doesn't really help you. The solar pump is extremely reliable and robust, well-proven technology. Adding the water dispenser to it, you bring 2 great pieces of technology together and give a fantastic solution for replacing hand pumps. So this material that we have here, we'll show you tomorrow. There are actually some data sheets and handouts on this solution as well. So we have more backup material on it, which we'll be really happy to share with you. I think this is really exciting, and I think this could be a significant change to the way we approach this development sector. I hope that you're excited to buy it. I'm here to ask more questions, and I'll go to those in a second. But I hope you also are excited about this and that you can talk to local development agencies, whether it's governmental or non-governmental agencies, and also think about this as a commercial proposition. So if we start to present the same message here also to water service providers, be they regional or national or even local water service providers, this really offers an exciting alternative to installing more hand pumps. Good. So thank you for that. Let's take some questions now. So wow, I've got really a lot of questions that's coming in here. Yeah, some questions about the PS2 100. So the PS2 100 is typically working around 100 watts. Actually, its maximum power is 150 watts. But we would put more PV on. So we, again, in this example, I put 400 watts on. Typically, we'll put 200 on because we want to have this operating at full capacity all year round, even through monsoon times. Then we'd probably put 400 watts on to make sure that the pump delivers, really exceptionally all day long. It is a helical rotor pump, so it starts very early in the morning and pumps through till really the end of the day. So very long cycles on that pump. So can we operate the smartTAP dispensers offline? Yeah, so the system is designed to work completely offline. So even if there's no internet connectivity at all in the area you would like to install this solution, this works completely offline. And if I maybe just pull up one slide, if I can. I'm going to have to go back through them, sorry. Because the credits for each user are actually held on this tag. So on this tag, we hold very securely how much credit the person has, the name of the person, whether they have any special privileges, free water, etc. So this tag is read by the dispenser, and you could read by any dispenser, but this means the dispenser doesn't have to be connected to the internet to check the credit. It actually reads the tag itself. So as it reads the tag, as you deliver water, it writes back to the tag here. It will write backwards and forwards here. So this is done locally without needing internet. Same way the credits are added from the phone here. Actually, this uses a technology called NFC. You put the tag to the phone here, hold it to the phone, and actually the phone writes to the tag. So again, all of this can be done without any internet. So some questions about, can we mix grid power and solar power? Yeah, on all of these solutions, there's always a grid connectable option as well. So typically on small systems like this, we don't do anything particularly clever, but of course, both the small pump itself, you saw, operates from 50 volts, 24 to 50 volts DC. So we can have a power supply that allows the pumps to be powered from the grid if you wanted to. Again, our power packs allow solar input and a grid input, so you can connect both together. And the same with the smartTAP water dispensers. As I mentioned, they have their own PV module for charging. They have a battery inside to give autonomy for 3 days use without any solar. And of course, you can also plug in 12-volt power supply into those as well. So all of these things can be grid or solar powered. The question here is, can you only use the PS2 100 in a drilled well, in a tube well? And the answer to that is no. Actually, you can use it in any water source. So you can use the PS2 100 in a hand dug well, no problem. If I just go back to my picture of the pump. So here's the water inlet for the pump here. So you can see, as long as you have a water depth of let's say 50 centimeters, then that pump can be in there. It can also be used to pump from a river or a pond. So this doesn't have to be in a tube well, it could be in a hand dug well as well. So we're not limiting this only to tube wells. Again, some questions about water quality and things. Of course, these pumps will handle much poorer water quality than you would want to drink. Yeah, so these, of course, we're talking about drinking water application. Remember that these pumps are also used for irrigation as well. So imagine them pumping from a dirty pond or something. So don't worry too much about the quality of the water from drinking water sources. The pump's got no problem with this. As I said, it's designed for also use in irrigation applications where you might see weed and dirt and all these kind of things also in the water. So this pump isn't sensitive to those things. It's designed not to be. And it can be installed, it doesn't have to be installed absolutely vertically like this. It can be installed at an angle. Actually, this pump will run horizontally or even upside down. It's a helical rotor pump, so you can install this any way up. So again, if you've got tanks that you want to pump from, anything like this, no problem, this pump will do that. Yeah, question here about the from Alfredo about the technology in the tag for the smartTAP water dispenser. So is it using RFID? We're not using RFID technology here. We're using something called NFC, and actually inside the little tag that the customer uses is actually a small computer. So this is a remotely powered computer. It's powered when you go to the dispenser. It powers it wirelessly by magic, and it has on board a processor memory on a tiny little chip with a very long life. And the water dispenser and the tag talk to each other, and they securely communicate, pass data between each other. So this is an active communication that keeps the system extremely secure. Let me look. I'm just going back through the questions, trying to answer not answer too many of the same questions here. Yeah, how do we get credits onto the tag? So the way that you would get water credits onto the tag, we can do a couple of things. I mentioned that we have the ability to have auto-renewing tokens. So if, for instance, if we want everybody in the community to have 5 litres per day each, actually what we can do is set an auto-renewing 5 litres of credit for every person. So this means every day they would get 5 litres free. If they don't use it today, they don't have 10 tomorrow, you get 5 litres per day free. So this is one thing that you can set, which makes sure that everybody has access. We could also set other things, so we could set particular profiles that say this person needs more water because of a medical condition, for instance, and the local health provider could then add to their tag, okay, for the next 8 weeks, I want you to have 10 litres of water per day because you're ill and you need extra water. So all of these types of things can be added to the tag, as well as your commercial wallet, which means when you want to buy water credits, you go to the local water vendor and you add credits to your tag. So we're supporting a commercial wallet, we're supporting a daily free water entitlement, and we're also can support other wallets for social or medical care as well. And all of these things are held on the tag per person. So this is fully configurable if you want to do it. The positive thing about all of this is it's very transparent, because all of the dispensers are storing information about exactly who used which credits, who gave out which credits. The app itself where you're issuing the credits is recording that as well. So you have really full end-to-end transparency. If you have the dispensers connected to the internet, they're sending the data through. If you don't have them connected, we have a very simple smartphone app where you go up to the dispenser, hit one button, it pulls the data from the dispenser. When you get back to connectivity, if it's a non-connectivity area, you push the data to our cloud-based platform that you can see in the top right here. So we also have cloud-based data collection and aggregation for all of the dispensers that you have. So you can really see exactly who collects how much water from where, when they collect it, the economics of the system. You can see who sells the most water, who uses the most water, how much the doctor gave out today. All of these things fully transparent and trackable. So you have again, sustainability is the key here. You really have a solution that everyone can see and understand. Good, thank you. So many questions here. Okay, in terms of do we have the ability to distribute these in all countries? So we are in 150 countries through a network of local partners. We are in all of the major markets, and we serve some of the minor markets from some of the larger ones. But I think all of the questions I've got here: are you in Tanzania? Are you in Uganda? Are you in Kenya? Are you in Ghana? Are you in Nigeria? The answer is yes, all of those. So we're in most countries. We have distributors, and typically multiple distributors of the products. Some questions about security and anonymity. So again, security is really key in these kinds of technologies, of course. When you particularly talk about the water dispenser, things need to be really secure. We have to treat credits like money, so we have to put the same levels of encryption and security in place as you would for credit card transactions or other money transactions. So this is super secure. We keep everything internally in the system anonymized. So for instance, actually the transactions that you see and are always anonymous. So you would see a tag ID but not names, for instance. Only you as the data owner have the ability to put the tags and the names together. So in terms of systems and transactions, the tag ID and the name that owns that tag are not ever sent together. They're two completely separate data sources, for instance. So you have to choose to bring those together as the data owner to be able to see them. So you can see tag number 1234 buys this many litres today, collected the water 5 times, etc. You would need then the second piece of data, which you have in a separate place, which would then say, and this tag belongs to Mary. So there's anonymity throughout the system. Sorry about that. Anonymity throughout the system to protect people's data, because of course this data could be used, as with all data, for the wrong reasons sometimes. We can do other things, like we can identify people that used to collect water every day but now don't. So again, maybe this could indicate vulnerable people, etc. So this kind of data can be used and mined from the back-end database that's available to you as the operator of the system and solution. Good. So how many systems are deployed? So the components that we have here, we're talking about a really standard solar pump system. So this is just happens to be a smaller version of it. Even the smaller version of it, I think, where are we now? Maybe 5,000 units in the field. Of course, this is an adaptation of the technology that we've been installing now for in the current form of the design the last 7 years, and previous designs for 20 years. So this is coming from a long experience of installing solar pumps. And again, I think for most of you also a great reputation for good quality, for reliability. We would expect these pumps to last, again, I'll give you planning numbers. I would expect them to last 5, 6, 7 years in this kind of application. There's no reason that they would not last longer. Water quality does have an impact on wear of pumps, of course. If there's lots of sand, this does simply wear the pump components, but actually the motors and things really have an extremely long life. Electronics have a long life. It's all obviously weatherproofed, resin encapsulated material, so this has a very long life. The water dispensers, now we've been running for 3 years with those. Again, really almost zero failures on water dispensers. We expected higher maintenance, to be honest, and we really see very, very few problems. Any of the problems are typically from dirty water, so from stones typically in water. So once you have a relatively clean water source, then really dispensers have no failures. Of course, they have wear problems in terms of if you've got 300-400 people visiting them per day, you might want to change a case of them every year or so, just simply because they have a bit of a hard life. But in terms of the operation of them, really no problem. So this is super robust technology. Question here: does the performance of the solar water pumps in general go down after years of use? So I think there's a couple of issues to talk about here. One is, of course, the expectation is that a solar module itself reduces its performance over its lifetime. Again, this is kind of something that is yes a topic, but not a real topic. If you look now at the first PV modules that were installed in the 1970s, so they're kind of just past their 30-year expected lifetime. And again, you'll see 30-year warranties, performance warranties on PV modules, 20 to 30 years, depends on which ones. Actually, there was a really interesting article in a PV magazine last year where they were testing some from the 1970s, and they're pretty much still giving the output that they were 30 years ago. So PV modules themselves do have a theoretical small reduction over time, but we're talking about really long periods of time. So again, we're talking about something here. You saw the cost of PV and racking and everything was $300, and they have a 30-year effective life, and actually no reason why it wouldn't be longer. So forget about those reducing. Again, motor technology, the motor won't go down. This is all DC brushless motor, ceramic bearings, etc. So this has a really long life. The only thing you might see over time is as the stainless steel in the pump end itself maybe wears through sand, there could be a reduction in performance over many years. But again, this is a replaceable part. So maybe in 5 years' time, you replace a pump end if you see a reduction in performance over a long period of time. But again, typically all of this is long life technology. Good. So questions: could you connect the pump directly to the smartTAP water dispenser? So this isn't so you saw the solution we had here. We were going from the pump to a tank and then to the water dispenser. Of course, the logic of this is that you have water 24 hours a day, and also that you use if you've got 3,000, 5,000 litres of water here, you use this as a buffer so that you have the peak of water in the morning, peak of water in the afternoon is served well by the tank. So you use the tank to spread out the water provision through the day, plus you use it for access for water at night when the pump doesn't have any power. You can pump directly from the pump into the water dispenser, but of course you lose that overnight ability. The pump will pump more water than the dispenser will deliver typically, so you might want to put a small pressure tank in between. Again, we've built some units like this with a 15-litre pressure vessel between. This is nice because you set the pump to control by a pressure switch, and then you run directly into the water dispenser. So this is definitely possible. Of course, this then becomes a daytime solution, not a 24-hour one, but that's quite possible. You could, of course, then add batteries if you really wanted to, but this starts to add cost, complexity, and introduces a maintenance problem that, for me, is much better served by using a tank. But yeah, this is some cultures I know really don't like to drink water from tanks, always like it directly from the ground, and then this is quite happy to have this. Yeah. Good. So yeah, lots of requests here. Can we have the presentation? Can we have more information? Can we have literature? All of this we have available. We'll put you some links in tomorrow for a link to this video. We'll also link some PDFs of this kind of solution for you. Yeah, the best thing is if you have queries, talk to your local partner in country. If you don't know who they are, please drop me an email and we'll point you in the right direction. We're very happy to introduce you to local partners to help with this. If you're working with development agencies, also we have reasonable relationships with many of the international NGOs, and if you see projects locally, we would be really happy to help you with talking to some of those. And if there are, I can see there are a few attendees today from some of those development organizations. If you think this is exciting, we would love to roll out some projects with you. So if you have some pilots that you'd like to do, we can do this really quickly. I also do think there's maybe a slightly bigger opportunity here, because if you imagine taking this solution with the tank and the dispenser and the pump, and maybe there's an opportunity that you know, if we could get a same thinking group together. I've talked to maybe UNICEF about this, talked to our friends at Oxfam as well, that maybe we could even design a tank stroke dispenser housing all in one molding, and this could then be really a drop-off solution to replace a hand pump. And this kind of small engineering actually helps with scale and means this maybe could be deployed again in hundreds and hundreds of thousands of units very economically and sustainably. So good, we're a little over time. I think I've got most of the questions there. There's a couple I'll answer directly to people where I prefer to do that directly with you. Hope you found that really interesting today. Thank you for taking the time. We've got some more webinars coming up. We have one on pump design on Thursday, and yeah, we will be publishing a lot of these now on YouTube. We made the decision that the interest is really high, so we have about 12 different webinars we've done over the last few weeks. We'll publish these onto a YouTube channel so that you can share those with further colleagues. So thanks for your attention today. Have a safe day, and we'll catch you on the next webinar. Thank you.